One of the things to consider if you get a bullet break is clearance on the handlebars. Now in this case, this is a windscreen mount for a winter windscreen that we use. We put it on generally when it's cold, otherwise we're running the smaller summer windscreen. And this mount is going to have to move down a little bit in order to clear this. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and since I got to readjust, I'm just going to take them off and worry about it later. Yeah, you do have to have clearance here. So if you have a windshield mount or a brush guard or something that has a mount over here, you just need to make sure you have enough room for the button to pop out. Okay, here's what you need to do the installation. Of course, you're going to get your package, you're going to get instructions from Bullet Break and your bullet break itself. This is the BB01. And then you're going to need a 12 millimeter, a 14 millimeter to remove the original banjo bolt nut, and you're going to need a screwdriver suitable to remove your reservoir top on your brake reservoir. So step one is to make sure you have room on your handlebars. I'm going to take this mount off and to go ahead and put a rag or something to protect paint from any dripping brake fluid. And it's always good to make sure you have a good helper on hand. Isn't that right, Benny? Where are you going? So we have everything ready. The first step is to remove the existing banjo bolt here. So there we go. Ah, yeah, popped right off. So for whatever reason, my 2017 Retro was extremely tight. This one, not so much. So let's get that off. Getting a little bit of brake fluid leaking out. That's expected. Okay. No matter what you do right now, do not pump the brake. That would be bad. And be careful with the brake line. This one's fine. You can wedge it or tie it off, whatever you need to do. You don't want it to fall. It's interesting. I am going to show this. A little bit of what looks like corrosion here. My Retro did not have that. I have the new bullet brake ready to install. Again, this is the BB01. Very easy to open package. You do get the two washers that you need, and these look like stainless steel, not sure, probably stainless steel, and they also have a rubber liner in them. The originals are just copper, so certainly should not leak. The one on my Retro has not leaked. It's been on there, I guess at this point, a couple of months. Right, I have everything out here ready to go. Going to put the first one on. Just gently work it till it goes back there. It'll go. Got that on there all the way. Now there is a little bit of a ledge here, so I had to work that washer over it. Don't just gorilla it on or anything. Work it around and it'll go. At this point, we'll put this back. Here we go, and the next washer. There we go. Now, this part was tricky for me on the Retro. There it went. I just had trouble getting the thread started. And you know, you'd probably be better. I don't have full feeling in my hands. I've lost about 20% of the feeling in my fingers due to a, well, we'll just say a spinal condition there. But I get by. Here we go. Now that is finger tight, but there's still a lot of movement, so I'm not calling it finger tight yet. I'm going to go until I see no movement. Back and forth. Okay, now I would say that's a proper finger tight. I could get that back off if I wanted to. So let's position this where it's relaxed, about where the other one was. Now this is a 12 millimeter wrench. And I'm going to hold this in position while I tighten this. Now, they show you turning like 6 flats
take a flat place and shift it 1. All I do is I turn it. That's pretty tight right there. So now I'm going to give it about an 1/8 of a turn. I'm going by feel. I don't know if you can see it, I'm pulling with 1 finger to have more feeling on this down here at the bottom. I don't know if that's in frame or not, barely, but yeah, just pulling with 1 finger. And you know, if you're a mechanical person, this is going to make sense. But even if you're not, it's not that big of a deal. You see right now I'm pulling, it's kind of straining my finger a little bit. That's as tight as I'm going to take it right there, and that's plenty tight. So that should be good. And if I notice any brake leakage once I clean all of this up, I can always tweak this another little bit to tighten it down. Tighten it down good and snug. Again, they count like 6 flats. I'm not sure that's going to be applicable to everything due to different thread pitches, but yeah, that's a pretty good amount of pressure right there. So I don't expect that is going to leak. For the next step, I need to take the top off the reservoir because I want to see inside the brake reservoir. So let me get a screwdriver to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, let's take the top of the reservoir off here very easily. Again, I've got old towels. These are not my wife's good towels, so I will live to see tomorrow. When we replaced, or I guess I put that another way, when my wife replaced all of our towels, I inherited all of the bad ones. And I use them in the shop for drop mats, wiping up, different stuff. And I'll show you why I'm opening this here in just a second. I'm also laying this back here on another towel to do it. So let me pick you up and let you take a look in the reservoir. Okay, what you want to do at this point is pump. Just push in.
And we want to pump you up.
See that bubble pop up? Now pull out. So that's 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
There's 3, there's 4. So that's 34 pumps, and there's no air bubble came up on that last one, but I'm going to keep going. My retro, I think, took 40-something pumps. This one appears to take 34. Oh, there's another little bubble, so that's 35, 36. Yep, there's still a tiny bubble. After 36, there's one more tiny bubble, so keep going. And I don't know that there's any set value. I just do maybe 10 additional pumps, 10, 15, doesn't matter. Once I see that last tiny little bubble, I just keep pumping another dozen times or so, and I'm overdoing it right now for the video, to make sure no more bubbles are coming out, because this is purging the top of the line here. See, we didn't get any air bubbles further down, so there's no need to go through a full brake bleed here. All we're doing is air is coming up this hose, and this gives you a way to pump that air back out into the reservoir. And that's doing a good job. So I'm going to put the top back on, clean up, and then we'll test it. Now the reservoir was still plenty full, not worried about that. I generally change the brake fluid about once every couple of years. And that's it. That's the install. So let me get a rag and clean all this up, and then we'll take a look at how it works. It's all cleaned up. There's no brake fluid residue that I can feel, nothing leaking. I have pumped the brake handle. It's nice and firm, feels like it has always felt. So no problem there. I can hear the caliper moving down below, so that's good. No brake fluid leakage.
Nothing. So it looks like we're ready to test this thing out. So here we go. To actually use the bullet brake, you need to pull the handle. Now, don't pull it too hard. You just want to pull it until the bike won't roll anymore. If you gorilla this down as tight as you can get it and then engage it, it's going to be a lot harder to release, and it's putting unnecessary pressure on things. So you just want to pull it just hard enough that the bike's not going to roll. So if you're on a steep incline, maybe you give it a little more front brake pressure where it's level here or fairly level, just enough to make sure the bike doesn't roll. Push in and then let go. And you're done. That's it. Now the bike is solid. It's not going anywhere. So to release it, you simply get on and pull. This pops out, let go, and you're done. Something else that I recommend is that you take your original banjo bolt. These copper washers look fine. Technically, you should probably replace them, but they're fine for an emergency situation. And I recommend that you put this in your spares bag on your bike so that you have it available. Now, I don't expect to have trouble with the bullet brake, but like any mechanical thing, it could have an issue. So as long as and I'll clean this up, as long as I have this in the spares bag, I have kind of an emergency backup that hopefully I will never need in the event that the bullet brake were to start leaking. If I had any criticisms of the bullet brake, I would say first, it takes two hands to operate. It's not as easy as just pulling a lever. Wish there was a way to run it with one hand, but it's not that big of a deal. Second, you do have to have clearance on your handlebars. So if I put a windscreen back on here that requires those supports, they're obviously going to be down here or may have to roll this more. So there is a consideration of clearance on your handlebar. But I mean, think about it. There's a huge consideration for clearance on your handlebar for this too. So it's really tit for tat. The other, I don't want to say it's a criticism, but just something to be aware of. This is hydraulic, and while mechanical systems can fail, so can hydraulic ones. And I just wouldn't trust this long term. Like I wouldn't park it on the side of a really steep hill, lock this front brake, and walk away and leave it for 4 or 5 hours. Wouldn't make me warm and fuzzy. I would put the bike in reverse as well, and if it's steep enough, I'd chock the wheel. There's got to be a rock around here somewhere. However, consider what we're comparing it to. There's no way I would park it on a steep hill, lock this brake down, and walk off and leave it either. So I haven't lost anything. In fact, I've gained something. If I pull up and I get off to open my gate or to go to the mailbox, I am pretty confident this is going to hold the bike there for the few minutes that it takes me to do that. 2 days ago, I think it was, before I installed this, my wife pulled in. She got off to go get the mail, and I looked in my rearview mirror as I was punching in the gate code, and her bike is slowly making its way down the driveway. I'm going to let my wife run both, and if she likes this and she has no trouble using the bullet brake, I will take the OE brake off this one and button it down as well. Get rid of that extra cable and go from there, because I just don't see the point in keeping this thing. Well, my wife decided to take her CT out for a ride. This is literally the first time that she's been using the bullet brake. She did pretty good with it. She said she liked it, and it was far more reliable than the other brake. Now here, she just didn't squeeze the handle hard enough, because I've been warning her, don't tighten it down real hard or it'll be hard to release. Now you can see she's not really trusting. She's left it running, and remember a couple of days ago it ran away from her while she was trying to get the mail with the other brake, but the bullet brake held. She went shopping, she went Tractor Supply. Now she's going into Publix, and she goes off by herself and does all this. And here she is getting ready to park here. She seems to be getting the hang of it, and so far she said she likes it. Okay, I know that looks like a shocker collar on him, but that's not its purpose. It does have a shock function that I don't use. But I got this hunting collar made by Dogtra for one specific reason, and it's that button right there. That's right, it makes noise. It tells me where he is. which with a husky is a very important thing to do. Got the PET scan going on there.